Namaste, good morning, and welcome to our 11th episode of PodAlchemy. We are in a very intense astrological time, and it's a lot of things happening for a lot of people. Well, I feel we're just constantly in some intense times. However, this has already been previewed many years before. It was talked about many years before that 2024, the eclipse season, will be very intense, very transformative. And whenever something is transformative, you have to go through processes. And as Salome has been diving deeply into the background of the eclipse and everything around it, I like to give the word to Salome to explain a bit what I'm referring to.
Sure. Thank you, Nadia. So currently we are going through the eclipse season, which started, sorry, which started on 27th of March with the lunar eclipse, and it opens a portal on this date, and then we are ending eclipse season, this eclipse period, in 8th of April with the solar eclipse. And this both of these eclipses are bringing unconscious material to the forefront on one axis of the zodiac, which is the axis of Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, which it's all about personal will, what we are, who we are, and it's all about our self-determination, our power to be us, uniquely us. And then on the other side of the axis is Libra, and Libra is the consciousness that we do not live alone in the world. We need to balance. There is a balance act to be stricken about where does my freedom stops to accommodate the other. So it's a constant balance act between me, myself, and I, and on the other polarity, the others. What are the role of the others in my life? What do relationships mean to me? And during eclipse, because we have this opportunity to introspect, to go within, and to realize that there are material coming to the forefront, we are invited to almost like look at our lives from a more detached perspective, to understand, okay, this unconscious material that is coming to the forefront, or this conflict there is being stirred up, what does that tell me about either me, myself, and I, my identity, or the relationships that I have in my life. Now, some astrologers talk about also the fact that eclipses usually they are cyclical, they are elliptical, and so there are connections. They forge connections to the past and, of course, like the future. So this, in particular, this eclipse is somehow connected to the eclipse season of 2005. So for people that are that need a little bit more guidelines and information, it's particularly important to look at this year of 2005 and what were the themes of your life, and how that can actually enable you to kind of connect the missing links of the timeline. What my feeling state in that year can inform me about my current feeling state, or emotional state, or thought state. It depends on also your inner world operates, how the informations come to you.
I love this information, because this year life does me, I don't do life. So it's always very helpful to connect to Salome and to actually hear what is going on, because it really, it's what's happening in my life. So at the moment, the events, I don't really have much space at the moment to do things consciously. it has me alive. Actually, something I'm trying to avoid happening is happening at the moment. And also because everything with feelings, relationships is very close to my heart, and is something which affects me very closely. And it's just so interesting when you feel that. I find it very interesting when you live situations and you have an awareness of what's going on in your life, and then you speak to somebody like Salome, who then tells you, oh, this is the theme in it, this is the essence of it, and you go, oh my God, this is really what's happening in my life, you know, this is actually what's going on. So we are web, we are web in the world, like people are going through the same thing, and it would just be nice if there would be slightly more awareness of what's going on, and we acting from a place of more discernment. There's a lot of anger coming up in me. There's a lot of, which apparently is also something that is coming up in people, which is very logical when you look at it from a bit of a distance, because when the values of the self are in axis with the value of the communal, there are conflicts, because you know, the individuation in a healed way, or the ego in an unhealed way, and the community in a healed way, and the social conditioning in an unhealed way. So it's this axes are very, very, very interesting. And I have a lot of relationship issues, like I'm not talking about romantic relationship aside, it doesn't matter which kind of relationship. There's a lot of stuff coming up there's also been stuff coming up between you and me, and there is stuff coming up with other things, with other dynamics. There's also relationships that have not been very much in the forefront of becoming stronger again, and some others which were very important are just suddenly kind of going away. And that is also something which I then realized is very logical to that part. And when it comes to the conflicts or to the irritations, something which I feel very strongly about is the honesty in it, and the straightforwardness. And I have a very inner compass who just goes, no, this is not, oh, I don't want that, you know, which then of course can really can feel very abrupt to the opposite, you know, to the person I'm dealing with. Yet everything that's is seen, everything that is in the open, everything which is transparent can be transmuted. What I feel is way more dangerous, it's what's in the hidden. And when you're in an energy like it's at the moment, there's a lot of own shadows coming up, but still it doesn't matter if it's shadows or healed sides. It's better to bring it out than to hide it, no? And you've been going through quite a process, because I was like, no, with you, no?
Yes. It's when one starts to really start to look at reality and understand how all is connected, I really feel that the potential for transmutation and alchemy is like otherworldly. And I started to feel the eclipse energy exactly during our conflict, because it's really important to actually even explain here how two people that can be and are committed to a growth mindset. So me and Nadia, we are both committed to growth, to appear as the best version of ourselves, and we honor that in one another. But when it comes to conflict, we see conflicts in a very in opposition, let's say. I, coming from a Libra sun, I really have this part trauma, part let's say like codex of consciousness that conflicts are not good. Like I have this very clear in me, like I don't like conflicts. I love peace above all, and commitments, and I start to feel the tension when I start to see that a wave of conflict is arriving. And Nadia here, she's the opposite. She actually, as she referred here, as she just referred, conflict is an opportunity for growth, for showing oneself as we are, imperfect. And from that conflict, Nadia always is instantly connected to, no, like the more I see you as a human being with all your shadow and all your light, the better I can appear for you, and the better I can see you. But to me, that is not the lens how I still operate in the world. And so when I started to feel that there was a conflict coming up, when in Nadia, she's very spot on, just
Yes.
setting boundaries. And
especially when I'm in this, when it comes from Swadhisthana, when something is just, I can also be more diplomatic, but when something is in my Swadhisthana, when something is just, then it's actually not me talking. It's as if something is shooting out and just setting short boundary, no further. If something wants to come into my space, you know. So
Exactly.
this is like it's actually a reaction. Sometimes it's also an action. So there's something that can come across very harsh.
Exactly. Yes.
Very,
Yeah, very warrior like.
yeah.
And so me, I was in my my I was like trying to be polite, and with the Libra quality really comes like this, almost like this longing for sitting at the table and negotiating and accommodating everyone's will. There's a lot of like this longing for really peace, but in a very not in a very abrupt way, not in a very harsh way. So when Nadia is setting her boundaries, the way I interpret them is as like this conflict, this how do you say, like a very rude, unpolite way of saying something, or of stating her truth. And that, of course, with me already feeling the eclipse, there was my own shadow coming up. And this is very important to also be very self-aware in that moment when the conflict came to the forefront. I was not in my observer states. I was not in a very grounded place. So the shadow energy plus the action of the other caused within me like this, I recall like this rubber on my face, like all body tension. I could not function that day. Like day was almost like trash canned. And there was this invitation. Okay, what will I do? Will I do I have an automatic response to give, or do I need time to recoil and collect my thoughts, my emotions, and my feelings? And so there with Nadia, like I really needed a timeout, because and that I was very conscious of. Anything that I would have said, I was so off balance, so unclear about my own shadow and my own how do you say, feeling world, thought world, and Nadia's, that I could not, in that position, I lacked really the clarity and the discernment to act. And so I recall that I did say to Nadia, I really don't have the clarity now to talk about this. But for Nadia, this actually can be interpreted as, how do you say, like not being so raw, right?
No, I don't mind that.
Uh-huh.
No, that's not what I mind. I at all. And I respect that if somebody announces that they
Okay.
need time to, and I also know if it's coming as an avoidance or if it's truth, you know? If you announce I need time to gather my thoughts and to get my scattered self together, to also come a bit into observer role, I honor that. I'm not afraid of the rawness coming up, because I sometimes feel it actually needs to come out, and or not actually feel, it needs to come out. So when you have a sparing partner who can take it, it's good to come out. I've never walked away from somebody who has showed the rawness. I've walked many times away, and that's a pattern I have when there is the hidden.
Exactly.
So I've never walked away from too much rawness. But that's not what I'm referring to. If it comes from an honest place of needing this space to, and if it's a desire, and it can also overwhelm your own system because you're not used to it. I'm used to the emotional the showing of emotions. So, and I also had to I'm used to it from childhood, and I stopped doing it and I had to relearn it, but I didn't know how to do it once. I only had to relearn it. You have to learn it from scratch. It's a different story. And it's also like different personalities, but if it comes honest, what triggers me enormously is if it's done in like, you know, this preparation of material, that's what it feels like to me. If somebody is collecting evidence, and if somebody is collecting information, data on me, I feel like I'm being some kind of how do you say that, study object, you know, like I'm being studied, I'm being observed, and then when then energy comes towards me, which is very well, like overly well worded. Like when it's so, because rawness is never well worded. It's rawness comes from deep inside. It's not, it hasn't gone through the thesaurus. It hasn't gone through the you know, it hasn't got perfect grammar, everything. Rawness is raw. So when then it comes in this perfectly elaborate way and very politically correct, I get so triggered. But the ammunition is there, like a chicka-boom, 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 and then it's all wrapped up, and that triggers me immensely. If you're just pissed with me and you say, I cannot stand you right now, it irritates me, I don't agree, I'm like, okay, yeah, fine, okay, why don't you agree? Let's talk. And I don't have a problem with that. But when it's like somebody wants to tell me something and then it's coming in this well-worded way that it feels so prepared. It's like a different, you know, like the same thing in law, when you commit a murder in effect, like you just kill somebody out of passion, or you have it planned. So it feels like a soul murder that is made out of passion. I can understand that. I can see that, you know. It's like, okay, you've gone overboard, you were raw, you were real, you were rude, you were whatever, but it was in the moment, it wasn't planned. But this planned is so, feels to me so, it feels so, it's something which really triggers me, which I also, I feel it's not aligned, you know, when it comes, if something is planned, you know, it doesn't matter. It's also like the own ways of doing it. But when it comes to, you want to share, you hide behind these words, you know, you can also, it can be used as a way to bring it better across, or it can be used to hide behind it. But when it's used to hide behind it, it feels very unaligned. And that in me, then, you know, this opposition, when you have this personality traits, it's also about personality traits without the shadow. I'm a very raw and real person in a moment, and you like to gather your thoughts, and that's not about healed or not healed, that is really personality. Okay, and then when the unhealed sides come to it, you know, it just
all together. Yeah.
In the healed way, that would not be a problem, but in the unhealed way, that can really become quite a gap. And then it's just so funny how we have similar values in many ways, but such different personalities.
Yes, it's opposition.
It's opposite. but very, very important same values, like some very same values and some opposing values too.
Yes, definitely.
But there's this essence, yes, like you've touched upon, of really wanting to grow, of really wanting to become the best version of ourselves. This belief in God, this belief that there's something higher, bigger than we are, that desire to individuate and to be connected to the spiritual, to want to become, yeah, as already said, the best version of ourselves, and the values of how some conservative values we share as well.
Definitely.
And then we have some values which you value more, some that I value more. The biggest difference is not in the values that we have. That's where we meet. It's in the
Modus operandi.
personality.
Yeah, it's how we navigate the world. It's our lenses also, I feel. Our lenses
see the world and how we navigate the world. And I think it's also where our power centers are. You're very much, and where the traps in the power centers are, like we touched upon before we went live. And I feel it's a very important one, because your power center is the Ashna and the third eye, and that's where the visions are, the visions, visionary gift. There's many other things, but in you, it's that visionary gift which is very strong. And in the Ashna, trap is the illusion. So it's this trap of bullshitting oneself and seeing things through pink glasses and not seeing things for what they are. And in the same center, it's actually this clairvoyance. So it's just, usually the traps are exactly the same in the polar opposite, like the gift. So the disillusionment or the illusions, they are very strong. And for me, my power center is the Swadhisthana. It's the womb. It's the second chakra. That's my power center, and that is intuition. It's like this deep, archaic, raw intuition. And the trap of the Swadhisthana, that's also where the shadows are and everything, but that comes up for everybody, I feel. But my trap that I feel is the traumas. It's hard for me to differentiate, like it's hard for you to differentiate between what is illusion and what is vision. And for me, it's hard to discern if it's the signs I'm getting, if they are coming from intuition, like just a deeper knowing, or if it's trauma-based, trauma-related. Which of course plays also in all centers, but that's what I feel at the moment. I have some questions to ask myself, that some decisions to take. And I also know that as a Swadhisthana person, I will be taking those decisions. I will be brooding over it, but it won't help. It's just suddenly one day there will be this deeper knowing and I will act upon it immediately. Yet I hesitate, and I'm not sure if because the options that are presenting themselves for me at this moment in time, I know it's not their option, because that deep knowing is a knowing that has been coming a few times in my life, and it was always what needed to be done. So that hasn't come. That I would still recognize. But the smaller steps, there are some smaller steps I could take in a direction to open up the field to something more to come. That I'm getting signals which I'm not sure if they are from my Swadhisthana, like be cautious, don't do it, or if it's trauma-based. And that's an interesting field to explore. And that's actually where people like Salome and I, because we don't share the same, we are very helpful for each other in that, because I don't have the illusion trap and you don't. I mean, I've also got the illusion. It's not that I don't have it, but you also have the traumas. But for you, it's the also trauma-based the illusions. And for me, it's a trauma-based, this over careful, not wanting to move, not wanting to take a decision. So it's very interesting how each and every one of us has the power center is also where we get the most challenges. That's what I actually want to say.
Definitely. And what I feel that in the end, like this conflict allowed us again, like to see oneself better. Like I at least from this conflict, I realized, okay, like actually this is part of my shadow, and it was not in the moment. So as Nadia was referring to previously, I had to collect my thoughts. I had to get some distance, and then we had like this heart to heart, and only then later on I came to realize that what stirred up the conflict was my unawareness of my own shadow coming to the forefront. And when I was trying to help Nadia, I was not aligned. And that because Nadia is very sensitive, and through actually this deeper knowing, she sees, it's like she knows something is off. Her way of protecting her field and herself was setting the boundary. And but her actually acting in accordance to her authority, herself, her authenticity, she allowed me to go through my own process of what was self-deception, what was not, what was my, which shadow was coming up, why, and then come to realize, oh, actually I really did not see that coming. And then coming back to her and be as honest as possible, and also letting her know of my own process. Because also in that process there were parts where of course my own wounding came, exactly my need to collect thoughts, but also realizing that yeah, I do have to also set boundaries where my anger was coming in. That also came to the forefront, because, and this I really feel it's super important for people that, like me, struggle with people pleasing, very strong conditioning, and don't know like how to set boundaries. It was one of the first things you said to me when you met me, like you have a boundary issue, and it always stayed with me, but I really did not understand, okay, and how one learns to set boundaries. It's not really about reading books that I did, but it's about this action in the moment, starting to read the signs. So to me, I realized that whenever anger comes to the forefront within me, in relation to another, of course, is actually a sign that some boundary, that I did not set a boundary. For me, it's not that a boundary was trespassed, because I'm in the stage 1. I don't even know how to, I don't even set the boundary. So I cannot even like blame it on the other person, because there was a boundary that I did not set. That is about taking self-responsibility, and realizing, okay, anger was here. This conflict materialized for 2 reasons. There is my part, that I actually maybe here there was a boundary that I needed to set and I didn't. And the second part is exactly what came up on my own inner world, was like this like this shadow, like almost like this thing being masked unwillingly. It was not intentional.
No, of
but
course not. Shadow is never intentional.
yeah, it wasn't intention, but it was wrapped in some advice that I was giving, and it was not aligned.
No, the thing is, it wasn't an advice. It was your shadow sugar-coated, entering my field, and it was coming from a shadow message. It wasn't a message. It wasn't to help or to support. It was your shadow in disguise.
Yeah, you see, for example,
and that's where.
Yeah, this was how Nadia saw it, and to me, like, of course, it is the objective, because now I understand that this was shadow. But still, if I go to the place where I send her that message, I still don't recognize I still don't see it. It's so,
It's
the
because
shadow is
like when
really
we have
important.
this, yeah, shadow is very tricky. And that's why it's so important to be in relation with people. And then even I who would like to withdraw from all relations sometimes. It is important to be in relation with people because we can never learn about shadow. I mean, we can. I think we can explore deeper by ourselves, but the pointing out of shadow can only do somebody or bring it up. It can only happen in interaction because the others, even if people are not trained or aware, like the others usually see us, see certain aspects of us that we are not aware of. So actually something which I find very amusing when I'm in the realms of this honesty about those hidden sides. It's like when somebody tells me, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, I wasn't aware," and then that's meant to apologize all the actions, and there's no readiness, there's no preparedness to actually go into it. This very clear shadow behavior, to own it and to own up to it and to say, "I'm so sorry, I haven't realized that." It's okay to say that, but it's this importance is to own it. It's not because you are not aware of it that it's okay to be like that. It's not because you are not aware that you're destroying the full world. You walk around and you shoot cannons around. "Oh, sorry, I didn't know." No, take responsibility, take self-responsibility. If you make a mistake and you're being pointed out, you go like, "I wasn't aware." It's okay to say, but still own it, reflect on it. And it's actually a gift to receive this information, because to tell people, to share what's been, I'm very direct in that, which can be felt as being harsh, especially when you're not used to look at your own shadow. It is, I used to sugarcoat it more. I've become more direct, maybe also because I'm becoming a bit tired of sugarcoating. It's this not owning up to things. And the tricky business about shadows is also when you're very clever about it, your own shadow you can actually cheat yourself and others with your shadow. So somebody is being very aligned in a criticism, or being very aligned in pointing something out to you, and that's the clever minds are very good like that, then they start to learn the vocabulary and everything, and they throw, you point something out to them, or not even, but then they start to attack you with the same weapons, and they point out things which are actually their shadows. So it can also be used as a weapon, and I think that happens a lot nowadays. It's like also in the spiritual world, like when the shadow work has become fashionable, you can also make somebody, like take the power away in some really important messages that you're receiving, projecting it back. So that's very, very important to be aware of that. That was the most important in that is that this excuse of I wasn't aware, what I want to say is that this excuse that I'm not aware of is not an excuse, because we are a whole thing. It's this, we're separating one aspect of ourselves from another. If my left side kills somebody and then my right side says, "Oh, sorry, I wasn't aware of," you're one full thing. Your right side needs to take responsibility for your left side. Your subconsciousness, your unconsciousness needs to, your consciousness needs to take responsibility for your unconsciousness. If you do something when you've drunk a lot of alcohol, then you're still responsible. It's the same thing with the unconsciousness. Like if you're doing things and you're not fully conscious, you're still responsible for it. It might be an explanation why you've done it, but it's never an excuse for what you have done. And this kind of mindset, I cannot be around anymore. I'm also becoming, I think, more, I'm becoming more
Selective, no?
Selective in what I like to surround myself with. Somebody who has a total freak out, who is being totally out of line, the shadows literally playing up, and we can talk about it. Somebody who's nasty, raw, horrible, like I can be nasty, raw, horrible. I can be devious, vindictive, manipulative. That's all shadows that that do come up. When we playing that openly and we receive the feedbacks and we work on it and we because only in the scene we can heal it. I choose not to spend time in the time I can choose, that I have an option to choose. There's some things that you need to engage with because it's required, because you need, some official papers or something. Like sometimes you need to engage in interactions that you do not prefer not to, but in the interactions that you can choose in life, I choose not to go into that anymore, because if I have a person who I'm dealing with and that person is very off and very raw and very whatever, all traits, but then when we go into process, is actually willing to go inside and to introspection and is willing to talk about it and willing to grow. If I feel the willingness to grow in somebody, the willingness to go beyond, I can take, I have a very big, there's a very big tolerance, because I'm also becoming tolerant towards myself. I have to be tolerant, but I expect of myself to be open to growth. And that's what I expect from others too. I expect that people we should always say, that's also such a saying, we should never expect anything from anybody. I don't expect the outcome, but I expect people, or I only want people in my closer circle who do want to grow. And however fast or slow or whatever that growth is, yeah, I don't expect an outcome in the sense like by the 17th of April, you need to have succeeded in this, and you need to do that. But I do want to surround myself with people who are willing to grow.
And this, like, just as Nadia said, like, this is actually if you watch it precisely, this is exactly the type of ponderation, the type of balance that we are being invited to ascertain in our life. This decision, this process that's just unfolded here for Nadia is the perfect example of a balance act being stricken within the axis of Libra and Aries. As you can see, like, it's this firm decision of, in my life, I am aware that I have the power to only allow in my private realm those that are committed to growth. That's it. No more need to justify, no more need to is this exactly this deep knowing, this very determinative, but also taking into account of the importance of others in life and how the tolerance is building up. But I do want actually to also touch upon the positive side. So here we actually, through this example, I feel like you got a little bit of the conflict where I was more I brought to consciousness a part of the shadow that did not really play in my favor. But now I want you to.
But why positive and negative? Sorry to interrupt. There's nothing negative about that.
I mean, it's just the negative part. Like here, they don't have the context, but the part of the shadow that was coming was this is important. No,
but sorry to say that. Sorry to interrupt your thing, but I feel it's so important. I do not see it as something negative. I see it as something real, and everything real is positive.
Okay. I still, like, to me, I see the perspective of positive and negative.
It is the name you give it, the how you call it. You still have this judgment against your shadows.
Yeah, I do. I categorize my shadows.
The positive and the negative. I feel it's a gift be shown. It doesn't always feel in the moment, but in its essence, it's a gift if somebody shows you the true essence, and the unhealed shadow is part of the true essence. And it's not, it is way more positive than not showing it.
Oh, definitely. Oh, yes. But
And
this
I'm not actually even labeling it on positive and negative. It is the trust, the honesty, the rawness, that is what I value and what I honor.
I understand what I want. Okay, so
Yes, I know. Sorry if I interrupted you, but I just felt this when you said negative and positive. I felt I needed to say that.
well, yeah, I think it's very important.
I hope I
Particularly,
didn't interrupt your flow. Sorry.
no, it's no, go for it. No, it's important because, and this is I feel like saying that I carry a very judgmental archetype for self and for reality. For it's not so much that I then judge, or I don't allow myself maybe still to judge others, but it's how my brain operates. It's like good and bad, black and white. It's really this labeling of experiences, the world, and like doing mix and match, but it's very polar based. It's based on the two polarities. And so when I was here talking about the shadow, it was more this, when I said like negative, it was related to what I perceive to be in my way. And this characteristic was more like, was this envious that was coming up, was this, and it was in comparison to another soul, another feminine soul, which I wanted to have the same treatment as this soul. And so this
In
mass
relation to me,
in relation to Nadia,
like you want me to treat you the same way like I treat this other woman.
yes. And this, when I said like negative, it's really because I want to transmute it. I want to alchemize. I don't want to have that in my life. And it's important because it's a wound actually that I do. Not only do I carry it, but also I see how I attract people with that same wound, which is, we touch upon it. It's the sisterhood, no wound. Is it like this that it's called in the, like the sisterhood wound, where you compare yourself with other women?
Tell me what wound you mean, and then I know exactly what you want to say. That jealousy.
When you have envy of other women, when you compare yourself with other women and you want to take their place.
Well, the sisterhood wound, I think, is only coming in place. I don't know that if it has a title, but the sisterhood wound I use that a lot, is when, that's why I don't think it's officially called that way. What I call the sisterhood wound is when in the forefront, when there's no jealousy involved, like there's genuine pure-heartedness of wanting to see the other sister grow, like you want to support each other, you support each other's project, you're one happy, let's see, it's become very overused, the sisterhood thing. Okay. But when the other person, you can also see that in regards to men, also in the spiritual community, there's way more women and men. So if this is men entering the field, suddenly a sisterhood is not so sisterhood anymore. Or if the jealousy comes in, that the other one gets more attention, is more appreciated. So there's a lot of jealousy coming in. And the toxic thing about it is that it's still pretended we are sisters, but you're actually starting to backstab each other, being jealous of each other. That's what I call sisterhood wound. But I don't know if it's called that way.
Okay, yeah, from what Nadia just said, like I just had like these envies. I did not have the first part nor the latter part. So I did not I actually in regards to this woman, like I consciously and unconsciously wish her the absolute best. So I want her to grow and have a good life.
But just not with me.
No, with you also. But it's just like this thing that I want to have the same benefit, the same treatment is this. I really feel it's so important to be raw and open about this. We have a conscious relationship as two women supporting one another and growing, and still there are little tweaks and also opportunities for growth in each other's path. So I came into like this came into my field, but then I want really to say like how also the shadow, this material that was coming up through the eclipse, benefited me in a way. So I was working like since we started this PodAlchemy, I was involved in a project that did not really serve my soul, and it terminated abruptly. It was I was fired slash I was going to uh, walk away anyways, but I was fired, and then there was this there was my trigger fairness was being pushed through a question of money, basically, that money was not being
Very important to mention, it's not our dynamic now.
no, it has nothing to do with our dynamic. This is, I'm just giving an example of how you can use your unconscious material, your unconscious shadow material, to strike an alliance with some traits so that you circumvent parts of your personality that are not serving you.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I really feel very strongly with this episode to give you an example of how shadow work can actually help you in very concrete ways. So there was this conflict with my prior boss, and there was money that was being owed, and my boss did not want to pay the money in my own terms. She wanted to pay it through other way, and I did not have a boundary set. Again, you see like how the personality operates similarly. So I was wishy-washy with my own boundaries until there was this point of the eclipse where a lot of anger was coming up, a lot of anger. And I wanted to be paid by a certain date. It was actually the end of March, 31st of March, my deadline to my own self. And I voiced that boundary, and I did say, you have to pay me. Now, my boss did not really wanted to honor our commitment, and she was using a lot, because again, like people that are in the conscious community, they can use a lot of spiritual tools to actually get into your own head and manipulate you. So in my field, I have a very strong people pleasing conditioning. I don't know how to set boundaries, and I avoid I avoid conflict a lot. And not only conflict, but I also avoid feeling guilty and ashamed. And what I do, like these are two very strong emotions that I usually use to distract my, like I eat or I watch TV in order not to feel guilty or ashamed. So the moment a lot of anger was coming up, and I was starting to project a lot of awful traits to my boss, but I was aware, I was witnessing, I was not reacting, but I did communicate it in a very straightforward, firm way. Look, we need to solve this conflict and really cut the ties by the 31st of March. And she used a lot of manipulation and guilt trips, emotional manipulation, and she was telling me a narrative that I could not see myself in that narrative. And when I was reading the emails, I was just like, this is not my story. I see no link in what I'm saying and what you are saying to me. And so I voiced it again. And the conflict, we were not unblocking because she was staying true to her narrative. I was trying to link because I'm a Libra. I was trying to actually, okay, reading through the email and replying to all the concerns. And the other, it's like I had like this wall. There is even like this strong wall, this mechanism that I was trying a compromise, and on the other hand, I saw a wall. And I was just like, okay, this is not this is not unblocking. What can I do to step up? And there I really see it, a very a part of my shadow. It's very in the unconscious, and I named her the Countess of Monte Cristo, which is a very it's a very cold part of me. It's a very uncompassionate, lacks empathy, very cruel, but very firm, assertive.
Ice countess.
Sorry?
The ice countess.
Yes, I named her the Countess of Monte Cristo because I do feel she's fair. This I do feel. She's fair. But if used incorrectly, she can be blinded in her fairness, and she's triggered. It's very important to analyze the shadow. She's triggered whenever her sense of justice gets compromised. And so willingly, I did this very consciously. I made an alliance with her so that she could come to the forefront to solve this conflict for me. It's like a play, and I love that, because what happened was she animated me with a lot of energy. I was very firm. Suddenly, I was not the Salome people pleaser. I was very willing. I could really very masterfully set boundaries in a very firm way, and it's just she took a weight out of my life, and she was straightforward, very very strong-willed, very powerful, very strong. And there she was, she sent the email. She was like, her will was not to be messed up with. I was really compromised and very intentional. I would go to the last possible, I would resort to all means to actually uphold this value that I hold dearest, which is justice. And what happened on the other hand? The conflict was solved. And then I could, how do you say? I could withdraw the alliance in a nice way. And now I know I'm aware of this part of myself that needs to be integrated in my psyche so that she does not pull the strings in a very uncontrolled way, lurking from behind. Because now, I no longer, I will say, I am a people pleaser. I'm not a people pleaser. I have it within me not to be a people pleaser.
Oh, yes.
She
You
taught
have
me
a lot. It's just. But
I
when
did
you
not.
don't integrate her, if she's a loose cannon.
She's a loose cannon. And then I realized that in my life, she was coming out with people that did not deserve it. Because this is really why shadow work is so important. Is these people that appear in your life, these relationships, they are opportunities for you to redesign the inner workings of your psyche, and so that you can start to have some control over your buckets, and you can appear in the world in a better light, right?
Yeah, because when you know something, when you see your aspects, then you can integrate it. And it's a bit, my parallel is the ice queen, no? It's the ice queen.
Yeah, you do have that ice queen.
It's less sense of justice with me also, maybe. It's more heart matters.
Heart matter. Yes, but the trigger is different. But we have some, I would say they could be sisters in a way.
Yeah, I think they get on.
They get on very well.
I'm sure they could share a cup of coffee and stuff, and probably very, a nice patisserie, some macarons.
Party. Yes.
They would get on. They understand each other. They respect each other.
Yes, and they honor the qualities of one another.
Because there is in both, there's a fairness in it. It's but it's also the willingness to to set really firm boundaries, and I'm ready to kill. I know that I'm ready, that I could kill. I know that I could kill. I have it in me. If there's heart matters, if somebody hurts my my dear ones, And if they, including myself, because I have this very soft side, this Cancerian side, which needs protection. So the ice queen is also the protection for my softness, for my, for my vulnerability, which is not really visible to somebody who doesn't know me so well. It's there. And if that vulnerability is hurt, hey, Napoleon, if that vulnerability is hurt, then if somebody hurts my Napoleon, no? Then the ice queen comes out. And it's less about the senses of justice. It's also, I tend to maybe too soon, too often sometimes, I'm not going into the battle on certain things. You know, I let it go, especially money matters is something which I let go too easily. You know, there's something, a shadow of mine that also doesn't, I'm willing to make a lot of compromises there, but not with the love matters. That's the love matters. That's the ice queen is the warrior for my heart, and the Countess of Monte Cristo, she's the warrioress for your judge, for your not the Libra, it's also the balance, is the law, is the so it's and it's not this fluffiness. Then, you know, that's what I said actually, and I can delete it afterwards if you don't like it when I say it online. So everybody, if there's like a gap in this, like Salome asked me to delete it.
Go for it.
I always said to you, you're not as fluff as you present yourself. You're a very strong person. You're very strong. I've always seen that in you. And then like your self-perception was of somebody way more like you call yourself you used to call yourself like I don't want conflict, I'm the people pleaser, I'm this and like this. You presented yourself as somebody, yes, you need to make more boundaries, you need to sharpen up and being less naive and whatever, you know, this kind of thing you very quickly saw about yourself, but you never saw yourself as a powerful being. You are, you know, and that's the thing is that sometimes difficult for me because I see those things in aspects in people. I see it right through all this fluff stuff, and that's also part of why I respect Salome deeply. Also because I see her strengths, you know, but I've seen something in her which she actually hasn't seen herself. So whenever those really powerful aspects of her come up, which also carry anger, which carry vengeance, which carry poison as well, I have seen them all along, and that's also part of why I respect her as a strong being. But she hasn't realized that it's so obvious to me that I see that. So she then gets scared when she shows that side to me, which I have seen all along. So that's also very interesting to where we sometimes, and it's also happened to me before, that I was clearly seen as I didn't consider myself quite as strong before, but I do know that I'm a very strong being. And because I'm a very soft-hearted being too, I'm also realizing now that people who see me the first time do not see that soft side in me. And I did not know that it's so hidden, you know. It's I did not realize that it's so well hidden, which
very well. It's the second layer of yours. The heart, but it's not what comes out at first as a first impression. No.
Yeah, it's very interesting to also get feedbacks, you know, on that, and then to have the openness to receive this feedback. So for example, me, I think that my vulnerability is very transparent and people see me as this really strong being who, like, you know, who could kill or something, because if they can see that ice cream aspect in me, apparently, you know, that's the feedback I get. And then also to realize that maybe I do not always need to protect that softness that much, because that protection because I feel everybody sees that softness, I'm putting this hardness on the outside world to protect my softness, but I could show a bit more of that softness. You know,
Yeah.
it would be safe actually to show a bit more of that softness. It would make me more, it would show me more transfer for who I really am, like in all
Our
aspects.
essence, yes. It would show a little bit more of your essence, because that comes, I feel like that dark, the Ice Queen, she's a bit too protective. She does not trust your essence so much, and so she comes as a almost like this ready for battle,
Like,
but
like you want to hurt my soft self or my loved ones or my soft inner self, and then she's there.
it comes as a default coping mechanism, as a first layer. But then when people really get to know you, like it's just there's a big gap between that first impression of Ice Queen and then powerful being, but then the part where you're really soft and open-hearted and really have like these huge heart qualities and heart-centered gifts, and it especially if people are really trapped in the first impression, it's very hard to then harmonize both traits.
And then also it's just so it's such a gift to be to reflect those things, you know. Well, actually both Salome and I, in different ways and on different levels, thought we become across softer and weaker than we actually are.
But I do think that I portray myself as weak, and this was the realization after this conflict. I realized that I am a wolf dressed in a lamb skin.
Yes,
and
you are. You've always been.
I was not conscious of that. Only now it was just like, that's why actually people, I also get a lot of backlash from
Yes, because you don't actually need to be protected as much as you think you should be.
No, and it's not only that. What I also realize is that because I portray myself as weaker, people go and they do shit to me. And then that's where my victim comes. Because I'm showing myself as a lamb, and then I don't activate the inner tiger, the inner wolf, but I show myself as a lamb. And so people use, but of course, the universe is sending me the messages to the people that I'm attracting. So through this lamb vest, I am attracting people that see me as a prey. And so they go and they do their shit with me. And this is very important. This is where my nice people syndrome has been the absolute worst part of myself. Because then I am conflicted. People abuse me. They really treat me unfairly. And before I really used to suppress my like these parts of self, like this contest of Monte Cristo. I was just like, how dare you cannot do this to people, you are a nice person. And I really had this, it was very, very present within me. You are a nice person, you don't want to sin, you don't want to be a bad person, you cannot be a bad person. So I used to really disown this part of self, this strong part of self. And it was there like lurking in the unconscious, and really starting to disbalance my life in a very hidden way. And only then, like through this conflict, like just this big chana moment appeared in my life where I realized, wow. And it's not only that I portray myself as weak and as a lamb. That is the problem. That is why I'm attracting these people that are see me as a prey, use and abuse me. That's where my use and abused wound comes from, also ties into that. And my nice people, it's a fake persona, it's a nice person conditioning that I have, and that is completely misaligned, completely, because it prevents me to be authentic. And this is really where I want to hit the nail. This fake nice persona, people pleaser, is not me. Is not me. And so I'm here designing and crafting a fake life out of this fake persona and attracting fake people into my life because I am portraying myself as inauthentically as I can, out of a longing to be good and virtuous, but I'm not. Because the moment I'm severing parts of self instead of integrating them, instead of bringing them to wholeness. And so, yeah, this was my big lesson of this eclipse, and I am so very fortunate and so very grateful for all the shadow that came up.
Yeah, because that's how we grow. That's how we grow. And we attract so much in our lives through certain dynamics and through just how we also portray the persona that we display towards the exterior. That's how we go into resonance. There's some of us who see right through that, you know, to cut through those layers. And there's some of us out there who see in each other's core, and we're not being swayed or sidetracked by the you know, the outside. I've always seen that in you. I did not resonate with your people pleaser side.
You are very gifted, but this is where I really need to hone in. Like, you are not, I don't know a lot of people like you. You have a very particular power of really connecting to the essence.
Yes, and it's not really, it's often, I mean, it's something which I only really start to realize in its full extent very recently. And it's something which I have thought that everybody or most people can do. That's a bit of a wake-up call for me, that it's really seems to be a particular gift of mine that God has given me for a particular reason that I need to honor and also work with. It is just something that also the realization, because my softness that I have underneath, you know, I do see that in people, so I could never understand why it's not seen in me, you know. So I've always had this shock, you know, this disbelief and this shock. That's a typical sign of me. This is like, my thing is like, I don't get it. How can people be like that? How? This is like typically Nadia. It's like this total exasperation at humanity. How can people be this way? How can people not see this way? Or how is this possible? And then to realize that what seems so natural to me it's so natural to me because it's me, and because that's who I am, and that's my particular gift. And you know, this expectation, that side of expectation, I need to alter, because I have you know, this expectation that people need to be a certain way, and then not necessarily are. But bottom line is, I have this particular gift to see through this outside, but it helps each and every one of us when we unravel more and we become more and more who we truly are, because that's when we go into resonance with the people we should be in resonance with, where it's enriching in our lives, where we grow, where we actually, where we nourish each other, then we go into resonance with who we should go into resonance by genetic code, and not because we have some fake persona out there who goes to in resonance with another fake persona. That's a lot of relationships are built on that, romantic relationship, marriages, everything, you know? So, but that's another topic for another time. And when we're talking, I could just go on forever, because I think when we are warming up for something, then like a lot of other things are coming in my, you know, I get inspired with. But yes, I think that is a good sum up for today. And
see you next time.
See you next time. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining us.